Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Mom of Two, Wife of One. You can already know from the title, and you already know it's Thursday, so you know that I'm here to discuss Married at First Sight. Season 14, we are now at episode 13. Before I begin my recap and review, I hope you guys will subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos. Make sure you like the videos, share the videos, comment on the videos. If you guys have noticed, I've replied to every single comment on these videos, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I love to talk. That's kind of my thing. So definitely engage with me. I would love to get your opinions on this season, on the couples, on the experts, on everything in between. So this is the episode where we are now about 16 to 17 days away from decision day. So the couples individually are meeting with either Dr. Pepper or Pastor Cal. Now, I will say I love all of the experts personally for individual reasons. I love when Dr. Pepper comes on the show because she is a small little woman, but she has like the mightiest punch sometimes, not in a bad way and not trying to be, she's not trying to be overly negative or anything like that, but she does not hesitate to call people on their crap. Because at this point in the season, we've been exposed to them for the past 13, 14 weeks. So it's been very easy for all the experts and for us to become a judge of everyone's character. So she is quick to call people on their stuff, to say, this is what you need to do. I don't like that you've done this and blah, 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 blah. So I could not wait for this episode. I've been waiting for this episode, especially because I knew she was going to talk to Elijah. We're not even going to start with him. I want to start with Noy and Steve. Noy is selfish and she's very immature. She talked to Pastor Cal and her whole thing is money. I need to be financially stable. He needs to know that I grew up very poor. And so it's very important to me that I'm with somebody who is going to contribute to the household financially. I don't want to be the only one paying bills. That is all fair and good. That's fine. The fact that they finally sat down and had the talk about the financial plan, I'm so confused as to why it's just now happening. It's something they've been talking about doing for a very long time. So I'm glad that at least finally they sat down and said, okay. And Steve was the one who initiated the meeting. Like, okay, so this is what's going on. When do you want to have a child? Okay, let's factor this in. Let's figure out what we got going out. We got coming in. They finally had this conversation. So I was so incredibly grateful for that. But I say that she's selfish because her main thing is about financial stability and him getting a job or bringing in some kind of income, some way, shape, or form. His thing is, one thing that makes him nervous, and he told Dr. Pepper this, is that she tends to go on social media. Not tends to, because I don't want to make it seem like it's a habit and she's done it a bunch of times. But the first time that they had a little tiff and she blew up and left the house for 24 hours, she put this cryptic message on Instagram that was directed to Steve, but she didn't put his name, but it was, some sappy thing that you put when it's like, oh, the world is so harsh and don't be afraid to go after your dreams, like one of those hokey kind of things. And he knew it was directed to him and he had a problem with that. He's like, if we have an issue, I don't like that you turn to social media instead of turning to me. Like, you need to talk to me about what's going on and not do that. And that's kind of a boundary for me. I'm not comfortable with that. She's like, okay, cool, I understand. So apparently she did another post that was similar to that after they had a fight, but he felt like it was directed towards him. And it was basically a buildup of stuff that she had not said to him. And he felt that. And she's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's not about you. So he's, each couple is getting advice from these experts about what questions they should talk to their spouse about. So he told her, like, I just want to let you know that is really a boundary for me and it just doesn't feel good. And I'd rather you not turn to social media whenever we have an issue. I don't want our business put out there. I just want you and I to talk. Pastor Cal told her the same thing, and it's something I tell people all the time as well. Is one thing, when I first got married, I would have these epiphany moments of like, oh, well, this is a marriage lesson. And I would just post it on my social media. And one of the first lessons I put up there is never air your dirty laundry about your spouse online. One, these people don't live with you. They don't need to be in your business. You don't need that in your life. These people are not supposed to invite them into your marriage. Your marriage is you and that other person. All these other people, because I have about 800, 900 friends on Facebook. I don't need opinions from one of them, let alone all of them. That's one. Two, my husband's not even on social media. So it's not fair for me to blast him and say, oh, he did this and he did that. And he's not even on social media, so he can't even defend himself. That's not fair either. And it's just trifling. It's a really trifling thing to do. And so I completely agree with Pastor Cal. I agree with Steve. I thought Steve communicates very well to Noy. He doesn't talk down to her. He doesn't belittle her like some other men on the show. He's just very straightforward, like, I don't really like this. This makes me feel this type of way. I wish you wouldn't do this. Her response was, okay, so I hear you and I hear Pastor Cal and I respect you guys, but at the end of the day, it's my social media and I'm going to put, what I want to put. And I feel like I shouldn't have to, no one's going to really dictate what I put up there. And it's like, okay, you're missing the point. They're not trying to dictate everything you put on your social media. He set a boundary for me to make me feel more secure in this marriage. I need you to not put stuff out there related to our marriage. That's all he said. And truthfully, if this marriage is one of a woman and a man, one of Noy and Steve as a couple, then anything that goes out there has to do with me. It doesn't matter if it's on your social media account. That has to do with me because that's our marriage. So if I'm not on board with it and I'm telling you that that's a boundary for me, I'm telling you that I'm not feeling secure in this marriage when you do that, for you to just be like, okay, well, I hear you and I respect you. It's like, no, you don't respect him. If you really respected him, you'd be like, okay, I understand, and I won't do that. He's not saying never post on social media. He's not saying don't put my face on social media. He's saying if we have issues, don't post anything about that on social media. You and I can talk about it. We don't need to bring other people into it. I think that's a very fair request. And if he's telling you, this is what I need from you to feel secure in this marriage, and you're basically brushing him off, why then should he bend over backwards to make you feel financially stable in this marriage? That's what I mean by her being selfish. I feel like everything is about her and her needs. So, because she asked him, so what do you plan to do to make me feel financially stable? Okay, and I feel like me being the petty person, I'd be like, I'm confused as to why you think I would care about you being financially stable when you've made it clear that you don't care about me being emotionally stable in this marriage. So if you're not willing to do what I asked you to do to make me feel stable and secure, why should I in turn make you feel financially secure? Both of us should have the freedom to feel secure and stable in this marriage. And if only one person's feeling that way, the other person isn't, that's not really balanced. And I wish he would have spoken up and said something about that, because this all happened in the same conversation of him saying, I need this, her saying, no, it's my Instagram, and then her turning right back around and saying, okay, so now what are you going to do for me? Like, I thought that was just really selfish and really immature. And I think she's so stubborn. Like, she has it set in her mind how things should be, what they should look like, exactly like how many kids she wants and all that stuff. And she's not willing to budge. And she's one of those people who has joined the show who has an idea in their head of what a marriage looks like. Not just a marriage, what a marriage with them looks like. This is how many kids we're going to have. This is the kind of house we're going to live in. These are the kind of rules we're going to establish. This is how often we're going to have sex or whatever. And now that she's married, she expects this mold of a person that she had not met before the wedding day to perfectly fit into this man-sized cutout she has in her dream marriage. And it doesn't work that way. And it bothers me that so many people sign up for this show and they forget that. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with having an idea of the kind of marriage that you want. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have to understand that you have to be very flexible in that thinking, because you don't know who you're marrying. That person's coming with their own ideals. And it's not fair to put yours above theirs. This is something they've been thinking about for a long time as well. These ideals and values are important to them as well. So you have to be willing to bend so that you guys can merge your stuff together. And I feel like Noy wants no part of that. And that's really bothersome to me. So honestly, I see them both saying yes on decision day. I don't see him ultimately being happy. I think at some point he's going to wake up and realize, wait a minute, I've made all the sacrifices. I'm the one cleaning up after the dog. I'm still doing all the chores, even though I'm working. I'm still doing this and this and this, all the things that she wants. And I'm realizing now that I'm not getting what I want. So I'm hoping that before decision day, Steve will speak up a little bit more. I feel like he's good at speaking his mind, but I don't think he's come to that conclusion yet that she hasn't really given an inch since they got married. At least from where I'm sitting, I don't really see that. So I really hope that happens soon. Because again, I feel like if it doesn't, they'll both say yes on decision day. And then one day he'll wake up and be like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't really what I want. And they're a cute couple and they could make it, but I don't know. It goes beyond him just having a job. It really goes beyond that for me now. I think before that was my main thing, but now it's like, I'm starting to see some parts of Noy that I don't think is marriage material. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. We'll go to Lindsay and Mark next. I feel like the conversation they have with each other, it's dizzying to watch them, or to hear them rather, because they just go around and around the same stuff over and over and over again. He doesn't like the way she speaks to him. She thinks he's inconsistent and he doesn't care and he's this and he's that. And I feel like a lot of the stuff she says, I think they're valid concerns if that's the way you feel. But I feel like we don't get to see that enough. We see how she's spoken to him a lot. And I feel like we've seen a couple examples of some things that she complains about, but not a lot of it. We just kind of hear her side. And it is a little frustrating, I can tell, for him when she says, okay, you're not doing all these things. And then he says, okay, but you're also not doing these things. She completely dismisses his concerns about her and just focuses on how he's the problem, because I've given my all. So because I've given my all, I have nothing left to give. So let me tell you where you're falling short. It's like, okay, you can give your all in a marriage or feel like you're giving your all in a marriage, but is what you're giving, is that what the person needs? And I'm going to say that again. If I need, let's, talk material stuff, right? If I need 100 apples in order to feel satisfied and safe and happy and healthy, whatever. But my husband, all he has to give and all he wants to give me is everything. And everything he has are 1,000 peaches. So you can say, I've given you my all, I've given you 1,000 peaches. That's nice, but what I need are apples. So while you've given me your all, that's great, but I'm not feeling fulfilled in your all because you haven't stopped to think about what I need. You gave me what you had. You never thought to yourself, oh, she may not need this. Let me try to get what she does need. And I feel like for Lindsay and Mark, that's part of the problem, that she is giving her all. She's put 100% in this marriage and all that stuff, but she hasn't stopped to think about not only what he needs, but how he needs it. And I thought it was very interesting because with the two of them, because we see them argue so much more, I think, than everybody else, I like the fact that both Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper went to the root of their stuff. It's less about, okay, why do you think this about Mark? Why do you think this about Lindsay? It was more about, okay, so let's talk about what you think about when you get to that place in your head. When you get to that place of anger or that place of this, let's talk about the root of that. The root of that is your mom. The root of that is your childhood. The root of that is your dad. And I like that they were getting a deeper level of counseling from them, but it made it clear that the two of them needed that counseling before they got married. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who don't deal with childhood trauma, whether it's from their parents or not. A lot of people don't deal with childhood trauma before they enter into a relationship. And then you wonder why you have all this anger built in you, or you wonder why specific things trigger you. And it's because you haven't dealt with that trauma. So for the two of them, they could make it. They could possibly be a good husband and a good wife, whether to each other or to other people. But they need to both seek personal counseling for all of the trauma and the tragedy that they have both experienced with their individual parents. And having that little time with Pastor Cal and that little time with Dr. Pepper is not nearly enough time to really delve through everything, because it helped them to ask questions and to kind of piece some things together. But they need more than that. So I don't think they'll say yes. I actually recommend they don't say yes. Even if later on down the line they can come back together and be a couple, they both have a lot of work to do on themselves. And I think that should be way more important than trying to save this marriage at this point. My personal opinion, but I think that would be wise for them, because I don't think they're an awful couple, but they just both need to make some changes. They really, really do. And Michael and Jasmina, they really like each other. And so Pastor Cal told Mike the same thing I said last week, is that Mike needs to be the one to initiate touch. Do not wait for Jasmina. It could be something casual as holding her hand, stroking her head, maybe leaning in to give her a kiss on the cheek or a kiss on the mouth or whatever. I said that last week, that he's going to have to be the one to make that move on her, to make her comfortable with the idea of touch and make her think about being more intimate with him. I think it's interesting. We didn't see a lot of them this episode compared to the other couples. They didn't spend a lot of time with Michael and Jasmina because there wasn't really a lot there this week. But I am hoping that they will get to that point. Like, he just needs to touch her, just a little tap, just a little, a little something. So hopefully he heeds Pastor Cal's words. Hopefully he's not scared to do that. Time will tell. I still like them together. Pardon-moi. I really want the two of them to work out. And I think they will. I think they actually make a really cute couple. Olajuwon, it's hard to even say and Katina because Katina didn't really give anything. Olajuwon, though, nothing good comes from somebody who comes after Dr. Pepper. I'm going to say that. I love the fact that after they spoke with all the couples, that, which I've never seen happen in the show before, that after they talk to them, they come back and watch them do a group setting and kind of eavesdrop on them in a way. I've never seen them do this. So I love the fact that they double backed and talked to them some more as a group. I thought that was really key. And I think they understood, like, yo, we need to be a little more involved than we have been in past seasons. So I appreciate that. Olajuwon does not listen. I don't think he understands. I don't think he fully understands what it means to be a husband. I've been saying that for a long time. I hated that when Dr. Pepper was talking about the way he talks to Katina. He was like, you know, do I get loud sometimes? Yes. Can I be stern? Yes. I don't like the term stern when it comes to you talking to another adult. I've only heard somebody speaking sternly to someone when it is a child. So I didn't like the fact that he used that word. When he talked about the marriage, he was like, Katina has had a lot of growth. I can really see that she's trying harder. He didn't say anything about himself in terms of growth, in terms of getting better, in terms of what he still needs to work on. None of that was mentioned. And it gives the impression that he feels like he's doing everything he's supposed to do, and Katina was the one who needed to do all the work. I don't like that either. When Dr. Pepper brought up, like, you know, so I've heard that sometimes when you talk to her, you're kind of belittling her and you're talking down to her and all this other stuff. He immediately got pissed off and immediately kind of got his guard up, like, you know, I only play like that, like for real. If somebody want to say something, say it to my face, And I was like, I was so confused because I know she was referencing the conversation they had in the restaurant where he told her, we basically questioned her as a woman, questioned her, you know, being able to survive in this world without somebody like him. Really, and he did talk down to her that entire time. So a lot of things Dr. Pepper was saying to him that she heard is stuff that came out of his mouth. So I was so confused. I was like, why are you mad at her for quoting you directly? She, you know, he's making it seem like, yeah, I don't do he say, she say. But you were on camera. It's not like she heard something from someone who overheard you through a door. You were on camera saying these things to your wife. And granted, that was a little earlier in the relationship. So I guess in his mind, that's the past. But I think she would not have brought it up again if you didn't blow up again from the dating app, which was a little more recently. So I think her point was to say, okay, let's examine the times that you have blown up on your wife. Let's look at the fact that after that first time she talked to you about not talking to her a certain way, and then you still talk to her that same way when it came to the dating app. So I need you to see that there's a pattern. I need you to understand that that pattern isn't right. And I need you to figure out for yourself how you're going to change that pattern so that way you're not talking to your wife cash crazy. That's basically what she was saying to him, but he heard none of that. And it was really bothersome to me. And I don't believe Katina is a pushover. It's difficult to really gauge the relationship, right? Because a lot of the conversations that they have, that he and she both claim that they have, you know, we really talked this out. We apologize. I heard her viewpoint. She heard my viewpoint. Whenever they have these conversations, they always happen off camera. So we don't really know how those conversations go. All we have is their word after the fact that, oh, we're good now. But it's like, are they really good? Like, we don't really know. So just based off of what we see, because that's all we can really judge on, I think Olajuwon wanted to be married. I think mentally and emotionally he was not ready to be married. I think that Katina seems like a good person. She seems like she's very patient, but I don't think she deserves the way he has talked to her in the past. And hopefully he does change and he's really working on that. But I think that if you've always talked that way to people, and to women specifically, it takes a while for that to just go away. And at this point, it's less than 3 weeks left for you to be married. There's no guarantee he's going to learn that lesson in the next 3 weeks. And I guess it's a matter of deciding if you want to stick with it and see if he'll change or not. but I feel like Olajuwon is a lot. I think Katina, from what we can see, does kind of handle him. They do like each other, like we understand that. I don't know if that's enough to sustain a marriage. And I'll say it again, Olajuwon should not be anybody's husband when he's never been anybody's boyfriend. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. So after they spoke, like I said, they all got together and they played volleyball together, which was really cute, all the couples. And one thing that Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal noticed that I did too right away, Lindsay was having her moment where she's talking about the conversation she had with Dr. Pepper, and she's crying. Now she's crying, and Jasmine is the one who got up and got her tissue. She's kind of leaning towards Mark, who's just sitting there kind of stone-faced and just looking like he's looking into space. Now, body language is very important, especially when you're married. And if you recall, when Lindsay and Mark got back from talking with Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal, they're sitting beside each other, and Mark is talking about the conversation with Pastor Cal, and he's talking about his dad and his mom, and you can see him getting emotional. I'm not necessarily like bawling, but you can see him getting emotional. Lindsay, the first thing she did when she saw that, she reached out and grabbed his hand to offer him physical comfort. She got up and she hugged him when he started crying. She is very much like, yo, oh my gosh, are you okay? Let me hold on to you. Let me be your anchor. Let me give you some stability while you're going through this. She immediately reached out, immediately hugged him. But when she was crying, he didn't lean towards her. He should have been the one getting her a tissue. He didn't try to hold her hand. He didn't rub her back. He didn't even look her in the face when she was talking and having her moment. But when he was going through his thing, she looked at him the whole time, basically kind of trying to give him strength through her body language. He didn't do any of that for her. And I won't say it's because he necessarily like didn't like her in that moment, but I think it's important to remember that even though it may not be your nature to do something, you have to read the room and read your partner's needs, right? Just like Lindsay has to as well. When he was feeling his stuff and she immediately touched him or hugged him, that is proof that that's how she shows affection. That's how she shows up for people, which also means that's how she wants people to show up for her. The one thing she keeps saying is, I don't think you care about me. I don't think you even like me, blah, 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 blah. So if you see, and Mark as a man needs to understand, if my wife is holding my hand when I'm sad, that must mean that when she's sad, that's what she wants me to do for her. She wants me to hold her hand. She wants me to rub her back. She wants me to hug her because that's what she's showing me. So obviously that's what she needs in return. And for him not to pick up on those clues, or those cues rather, was like, Mark, you got to do better. And even if you don't know that, if somebody's beside you, not just somebody, your wife is beside you crying, you should at least rub her back or be like, it's okay, babe, touch her knee or something. So the fact that he didn't touch her at all and didn't even look at her while she was having that moment, I was so disappointed in Mark at that moment. And I understood. It was that small moment that I was like, oh, I get what Lindsay is saying. Something small like that, really small moments like that can add up to something huge. Because it's like, okay, it looks like a small, intimate moment that was missed, but the bigger picture is him not realizing what she needs and not giving it to her. That's a big issue. So again, I don't think either of them should be married at this point. I think they just need to really work on themselves. I think Noy needs to get it together. And I think Steve needs to be a lot more vocal. He's vocal already, but he needs to really call her out on her being selfish and her not being fair in her reasoning and her thinking. Jasmine and Michael, I think, will be straight. They just need to continue to converse with each other. Michael needs to make that move, be a little more physical with her, just hold her, hug her, touch her, whatever. He needs to be the one making that move. Olajuwon and Katina, I still don't think Olajuwon should be anybody's husband. I see them saying yes on decision day. I see Michael and Jasmine is saying yes as well. I think Lindsay and Mark, I think they'll say no. I think Steve and Noy will say yes, but I think when we see them 6 months later, I don't think they'll still be together. So those are my predictions. Let me know if I missed anything. Were there any moments that you were like, oh my God, woo. Any of those kind of reactions? Was this episode boring for you? Was it interesting? Comment below. Let me know. I'd love to talk with you guys. And next week's episode will be a little late. Just give you guys fair warning. I'm taking my babies away for spring break, so I'll actually be out of town next week. I come back Thursday night, so I will catch up on next week's episode later next week, and you'll get your video. If not Friday, then definitely Saturday. So I'll still do one, it'll just be a couple days late. But thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you soon.